Today, I'm taking a look at the Saucony Ride 13 versus the Mizuno Wave Rider 23. 5.36 miles, 9 minutes, 36 seconds per mile, 130 beats per minute today. Taking it really nice and easy in the Wave Rider 23. I'm still recovering from a big run. Last week, I ran the Heritage Trail from end to end for what I think is the fastest known time. And so my body right now is craving some easy, comfortable miles. So I think it's a perfect time to compare these two shoes, the Wave Rider and the Ride 13. I took the Ride 13 for the exact same run, a little bit more than 5 miles at 130 beats per minute. Again, nice and easy. On that day, going a little bit more than 10 minutes per mile. Now, before I get to my thoughts on how these two shoes fared against each other for a comfort daily training type of run, I do want to go over some disclosures. The Wave Rider 23 Peachtree Edition is a pair of shoes that I received from Mizuno for the purpose of review, and the Ride 13 is a pair of shoes that I received from Roadrunner Sports for the purpose of review. However, no one's paying me to make this video or to include these shoes in this review, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my thoughts or footage before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. Now, with the disclosures out of the way, let's talk about these two shoes head to head. On paper, this is probably one of the closest comparison videos that I've made, with each of these shoes having 32 millimeters of stack height in the heel. The difference being that with the Ride 13, you got an 8 millimeter drop, giving you 24 millimeters of stack height of that Power Run foam in the forefoot. And with the Ride 13, you get 20 millimeters of its euphoric midsole foam in the forefoot because it has a 12 millimeter drop, which is pretty rare these days. Both of these shoes come in just under 10 ounces with 9.7 ounces for a size 9 in the Ride 13 and a 9.6 ounces, at least according to Mizuno's website, for the Wave Rider 23. Now, according to Running Warehouse, where I also checked, usually a good place to check out stack heights, heel, forefoot, and weights, they list their size 9 at 10 ounces, but in either event, very close for both of these shoes in that same, a little bit heavy for a daily trainer, but given the comfort measures that each of these shoes provide, the weight is definitely acceptable. In each of these shoes, you've got ample cushioning around the heel and on the tongue, any part that touches your foot. You've also got pretty flexible and stretchy uppers that give you lots of comfort in the toe box. And you also have lots of nice soft foam that is going to help you absorb all those miles, but keep you going so you can put in those longer runs. Now, in terms of which of these comfort-oriented daily trainers is more comfortable, I'd say in the heel cup area and around the tongue, I'd say that the Ride 13 is much more comfortable. The padding around here is a little bit more supple than what you see in the Wave Rider 23, and the padding on the tongue is a little bit thicker. On the other hand, the toe box of the Wave Rider 23 Peachtree is much more comfortable than the toe box on the Ride 13. I've been mentioning that while this is a very comfortable upper, there's a part here right at the end of this little toe cap that I feel like is rubbing against the side of my pinky toe. And that hasn't been a problem, but it's something that I noticed. We don't have that problem at all in the upper of this Wave Rider 23. I wish they could kind of do a heel toe swap where I could put the toe box of the Wave Rider 23 onto the heel of the Ride 13. You'd have a super comfortable upper in that situation. Lots of padding, lots of room, not being too snug. I think it'd be just right. But instead, we've got two different shoes here. Nitpicking because both these uppers are both really comfortable. But I'd say if you're looking for comfort around the heel, Ride 13. If you're looking for comfort in the toe box, Wave Rider 23. Now, in terms of the running dynamics of each of these shoes, both of these shoes are pretty smooth shoes. The Ride 13, though, for me, takes the crown in terms of which one is the smoother, comfort-oriented daily trainer. The Power Run that's in here, I feel like is a little bit more fluid than the Euphoric / Euphoric X combo of two different types of foams that's in the Wave Rider 23. And I just think that with the 24 millimeters of stack height that's underneath the forefoot, it's a much more comfortable shoe, in addition to having a better midsole foam material to begin with. Now, I'm not saying that just because there's a combo of foams that's what's detrimental to this shoe. In fact, the Euphoric X midsole foam here that's in kind of this crash pad area has been breaking in really nicely, and over the miles has gotten to be very, very soft and pretty comfortable underfoot. In fact, I would venture a guess to say that this shoe is no longer really or functionally a 12 millimeter heel drop shoe, just because of the way that the heel area of this Euphoric X breaks in. But I think that if there were a way they could put some of that Euphoric X in the midsole foam, maybe make it an 8 millimeter heel drop shoe like the Ride 13, give me a little bit more midsole foam right up here in the forefoot, I think that you'd have a much better shoe. It's something that I've noticed from the beginning of running in this shoe and even till now. I just feel like there's just not enough in the forefoot of the Wave Rider 23. It always has me wanting just a little bit more protection for my feet in there. The other thing that the Wave Rider 23 has going for it that's better than the Ride 13 is like the heat management of it. The Wave Rider, I feel like the engineered mesh, really comfortable, really breathable. There is a lot of padding around the heel cup and the tongue, and that tends to be a little bit of a sweat sponge. But overall, I think that they're doing a pretty good job, given the level of comfort that you're trying to provide in that upper, of helping the heat kind of dissipate from the foot. The Ride 13 doesn't do as great a job of that, and that's something that the Ride's had a problem with for years now, I think. And I think a lot of that just has to do with so much padding that they have in here. The price of all that comfort is that it gets to be a little bit warm. So depending on where you are, this could be a non-issue or it could be a really big deal. It's something that I wish that they could really improve upon. I'm not sure how they would do that, but you know, it's something that I wish I could have. Now, overall, both these shoes have been really good daily trainers for me, especially when I've been looking for something that's a little bit more comfortable, like when I'm recovering from a really big run or a hard workout. These are shoes that I'm going to be reaching for. But if I have to pick one, I'm going to be picking the Ride 13. It's just much more comfortable in the forefoot with that 24 millimeters of stack height of Power Run midsole foam. It's just a little bit more comfortable for me. And so when I'm looking for something that can put in the miles and be comfortable, this is a shoe that I'm going to be reaching for. Keep in mind though, now the Wave Rider 24 I think has just recently released, which means that the Wave Rider 23 is heavily discounted. Now I have the Peachtree edition, but depending on which color of the Wave Rider 23 you get, you can find them for as little as $50 in the US. So quite a bargain, whereas the Wave Rider 13 is still pretty new and coming in at $130. So depending on what kind of value you're looking for, the Wave Rider 23 could be that exact shoe that you might want to pick up. But for me, if I'm not thinking about price, I'm easily going to be picking the Ride 13. Those are my thoughts on the Ride 13 versus the Wave Rider 23. In my case, the Wave Rider 23 Peachtree edition. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions. I'd love to keep the conversation going down there. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?